said it's embarrassing, but this is kind of an historic game. I mean, this is
I'm aware.
the third time a team has scored 70 points over 7.
What's the question?
I mean,
What's the
how do
question?
you feel about it?
I just finished telling you.
Historically embarrassing.
Next question.
Keep it open or close it out. Sean
That
Payton
is-
hoping to
that
close out
man,
this season at some
He
point.
is mad.
He's
That is-
upset.
he's angry.
mad.
He's upset. Like, feels like if they'd only given up, if they'd only lost by 40, then maybe he's a little bit calmer. But once it got to 50, it feels like that's when it sort of spilled over. By the
Yeah.
way, I like that, though. I like the fact that, like, he interrupted. The guy was trying to ask a question. What's a question?
You should
What's a,
use
well,
that.
I'm trying,
Well,
what's
let
a
me ask the question,
Let's
sir.
ask the question. I'm going to use that, by the way. I'm absolutely going to use that going forward.
We're just, 10 days away from the unstoppable force, Nathaniel Hackett meets the immovable object, Sean Payton.
Big fantastic.
It's going to be on pay-per-view.
Listen,
That game
we
should
need
be
to trade
on.
Russell Wilson to the Jets.
Yes.
The
Full
reunion.
circle.
Yeah, exactly.
Wilson.
Oh, my
Let's
God.
do it
Can you
again.
imagine?
Let's
Yeah,
roll it back.
exactly. Yeah, who says no?
Listen,
Win the Super Bowl with Wilson.
we're looking
They
at
really could.
Javonte Williams at the Bears here, coming off that Sean Payton horrible presser, tough scene. Listen, guys, keep it open or close it out. You know what we do here. It's basically if you're just on the path of just sitting a player, you could be dropping the player.
Because we're at a bar.
We're at a bar. It's your tab. And Lawrence, let's start with you on this one because Javonte obviously just hasn't gotten anything going in this offense this season. He's averaging under 9 points per game. But the reality is Chicago's rush defense right now is allowing the second most fantasy points to running backs this season. So this is kind of one of those love the matchup, losing faith in the player. How do you handle this situation?
Yeah, well, we're going to handle it with the matchup here. The matchup that was last week, it doesn't matter now. Now you're going against the Bears, like you said, have given up the second most points in fantasy. I'm going to leave this one open, have a little sippy sip. He's still averaging 14.5 touches per game. Last week, CEH and Isaiah Pacheco combined for over 100 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think Javonte will be able to do a little something, still dominating the touches in this backfield.
Yep. Australian Rugby Union team's called the Wallabies. Brain fade earlier. Javonte Williams. Look, I think the thing here is that the Broncos might be in favourable game scripts, which is crazy to say for a team that just lost 70-20, but they are 3-point favourites on the road to Chicago. Chicago is the worst team in the NFL right now. That's not a real team, and I think this is a very good get-right spot, and they should be running the ball.
I'm at running back 20. Totally agree with both you guys. Like, again, we'll talk about this game a little bit later, but Javonte Williams, I don't think you can play Samaj P. Ryan, but what's exciting to me about Javonte Williams is the fact that he's been targeted on 34% of his routes. Like, again, so he's getting involved in the passing game somewhat as well, and game script should work in his favor.
Running back in a similar situation here, guys, Breece Hall. He had a couple big runs against Buffalo week 1. We haven't really seen anything from him the following 2 weeks against Dallas and, of course, against New England. He goes up against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, of course, here on NBC. I mean, here's the reality with Breece Hall right now. Nobody respects Zach Wilson to throw the ball. They sell out against the run. And we told you all summer there's going to be a ramp-up period for Breece Hall, that he's not going to get a full workload at least the first 4 to 6 weeks of the season. I mean, Barry, is this one where you
What's a question?
You got to close it out?
Good.
That's a question. All right, fine.
You got to say it at least two times.
You had the Sean Payton scowl down
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
good,
aware.
too. Yeah.
I'm aware. Breece Hall has not been good. I'm aware no one. What's a question? The question is, I'm closing it out for now. I'm not. But I just don't know how you can feel confident in starting him against the Chiefs. Right? Last 2 games, he's had 17 touches. He's got 36 yards from scrimmage, under 4 fantasy points in both those games. He's playing under 40% of snaps so far this year. Chiefs, by the way, and now especially with Chris Jones back as well, but Chiefs have allowed the 5th fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs this season. And so, again, especially if they get down in this game, which you could certainly see, like it doesn't feel like they're going to use Breece Hall as part of some big comeback. They should.
Yeah.
But it does feel like they're insistent on making it a Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall thing, and teams are just like, we'll take our chances. We're going to load the box, and we're going to dominate that poor offensive line of the Jets, and we're going to dare Zach Wilson to beat us one-on-one, and so far, that just hasn't happened.
Yeah, I feel like this game is going to be much like it was for the Chiefs against the Bears, but like an easier scale this time, Breece Hall only has 1 more carry than Dalvin Cook at this point. Dalvin Cook has 5 more catches for him, so they're not even letting Breece Hall rock in the receiving game. So with Kansas City being the 5th best against running backs in fantasy for this week, and it hurts, we got to close it out on Breece Hall.
Yeah, there's the popular idea that, running backs don't matter. Running backs do matter. Christian McCaffrey moves the line. Running backs are clearly important in the NFL, but they just sometimes cannot transcend their context. And when you have Zach Wilson playing this poorly and everyone just stacking the line and daring him to throw to Garrett Wilson one-on-one and he can't do it, then Breece Hall just has no way to succeed. Bijan Robinson cannot succeed if Desmond Ridder is playing like that. And Breece Hall, his value is going to depend on the quarterback situation either changing or Zach Wilson getting better.
Or at least being somewhat competent. I don't, again, the easiest thing in the world is to just dunk on Zach Wilson, and I get it. He hasn't been good. He's got no time. Again, it's a team game. The offensive line has been brutal through 3 games as well. Again, it's not all on Zach Wilson. I get it. A more mobile quarterback, a better quarterback, a more experienced quarterback can probably overcome poor offensive line play, but Zach Wilson is not there yet in his career. So, yeah, got to close it out for now. By the way, they play Philadelphia. I do think this. It'll be really interesting to see what happens next week. So they play Kansas City on Sunday Night Football right here on NBC and Peacock. I'm a company man. Taylor Swift is likely going to be there. I have no idea if that's true. I'm just trying to get ratings up. But for now, let's assume that Taylor Swift will be in attendance Sunday night at
You gonna meet her?
At MetLife Stadium. Yes, Lawrence, I'm going to meet her.
You better get the picture.
100%. I don't want to bother her for a picture. You'll take my word for it that I met her and I hung out with her, me, her, and Donna Kelsey. I will say this, though. Just as long as we're talking about this game. Me and you,
Yes.
not you,
Not me.
but the 3 of us and the Fantasy Football pregame crew will be live from the Meadowlands, from MetLife Stadium this Sunday morning at the Applebee's set out there. So
And Taylor Swift will be appearing on the show.
And
a
yes, you
guest.
guys come out. I don't know how many people are tailgating 12 hours before the game, but if you're out there and you're bored, come on by.
Oh, maybe Jets fans
When
be
Aaron
on
Rodgers was healthy, they would.
Yeah, they would have done it
I'm
for
not
Aaron
kidding. They get to the gate at 4
It's a little
a.m.
tough. But anyway, we'll be on the Applebee's set if you're bored and you want to come by and watch us do it. But we'll be doing it live 11 to 1 from the Applebee's set on Sunday at MetLife Stadium, Fantasy Football pregame. But as for Breece Hall, this is not. But they play Denver next week after the Chiefs. If Zach Wilson can't get it going against Denver, then I think then they play Philly and then there's a bye, and you got to figure that there's a change coming after the bye.
Exactly. So the Jets, one note, of course, they signed Trevor Siemian to the practice squad this week, and I think it's more about them bringing in somebody that's not Zach Wilson than it is about Trevor Siemian. And what I mean by that is the Jets need to get reps to somebody else to be a number 2 behind Zach Wilson. I think this team is going to have a different quarterback out of the bye week. I don't think they allow this to continue. And why I say that is if you are a fantasy manager wondering, what am I going to do with Garrett Wilson? When am I going to be able to play Breece Hall? I do think there are better days ahead, but this is going to be a really tough 3-week stretch for you against the Chiefs, the Broncos, who knows because they're so bad on defense, and the Eagles, who are going to be a problem against the Jets as well. So you just got to find a way to get through these 3 weeks, but those guys do have value in the second half of the season.
I think Breece Hall is the best buy low candidate in the
agree.
league right now because there's only 2 options with the quarterback situation. Either Zach Wilson starts miraculously playing better and Breece Hall's context gets better, or he keeps playing like he is, and then he's just not going to be the quarterback in 4 weeks.
Exactly.
It's going to be someone else, and it'll be someone better.
Do you think they do that out of the bye? Let's say they lose the Denver games in Denver, right? If they're 1-5 going into the bye, do you think they still?
That's the scary part. They have to win one of these 3 games.
Right. So if they're 1-5, and Denver's the obvious one, right? Again, home to the Chiefs, you never know. Home to Philadelphia before the bye, but that at Denver game in Week 5 is the one that you sort of feel like that would be the chance that they could get. But if they don't come through on that and they're 1-5 heading into the bye, do they just say, we're just going to get reps with Zach Wilson. It is what it is. Let's see what we can have. Because we either get Caleb Williams or we discover what we have in Zach Wilson.
This is the
Or
3rd
Drake
year
May
of
or
giving
whatever.
Zach
You know what I
Wilson
mean?
a go.
I think they won't do that to the roster because
Yeah.
I think they're worried about the long-term outlook of Garrett Wilson with that team, Sauce Gardner with that team. I do think the Siemian signing to me tells me Siemian might be backing up someone different because if you move on from Zach, if Zach Wilson loses the starting job again, I don't even think he suits up as the number 2 the rest of the way.
And it's not like the Jets didn't try to correct the problem. They traded for Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
He just happened to get hurt. So it's not like they sat back and just was like, hey, this Zach Wilson, it's happened to unfortunate circumstances.
Here's how bleak it is at the moment. The Jets are 3.5-point underdogs in Denver. And Denver just
crazy.
lost by 50 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's a bigger line than the Bears.
Yeah.
week
Let's
this week.
go trade for Ryan Tannehill, please.
All right, so
They should.
let's
They
move
should.
over.
Or Kirk Cousins. The Vikings don't want to bring back Kirk Cousins. next
Jacoby
year.
Brissett, someone.
What?
Jacoby Brissett, someone. Sign Carson
The
Wentz.
Commanders actually wouldn't give up Jacoby Brissett, as insane as that sounds. I don't think they
You
would.
wanna know
Untouchable.
why?
What?
You want to know why?
Why?
I don't think you want to know why. But we'll get to it in a little bit.
All right, then let's keep it moving then. All right, Joshua Kelley against the Raiders. Listen, guys, when Austin Eckler went down, and Joshua Kelley had a good week one anyway, this was a hot waiver name. It looked like, okay, Austin Eckler said, go pick up Josh Kelley. It has not worked out the last 2 weeks, Lawrence, like we hoped, but much like Javonte Williams, Joshua Kelley is staring at a matchup in the Raiders this week that you have to be a little excited about for a bounce back if you are going to continue to keep this open.
You would be excited for the matchup, but like low key, the Raiders are 9th best against running backs in fantasy. I think Josh Kelley is better with Austin Eckler. That's what the tapes show you. That's what the numbers show you. RB12 in week 1 with Eckler. Since then, he's running back 57. I can't be excited about 24 carries for 51 yards when you're the main guy. I can't, like, maybe if he was just, maybe he's playing the Bears or the Broncos, but I'm gonna close it out for this week.
I agree, Lawrence. I'm closing it out as well. We talked about this on Monday. Like, Josh Kelley just might not be good.
He's not good.
He just might be a guy. I mean, the fact is like under 4 fantasy points in both games he started this year. He's averaging under 2.2 yards per carry the past 2 games, right? He's not involved in the passing game, just 2 total targets over that stretch. He's had 6 career games where he's seen over 40% of the snaps, right? 6 career games where he's gotten over 40% of the snaps. He's had under 40 rushing yards in 5 of them. And it's not like a Breece Hall situation where, like, well, you know, they're stacking the box because they got no quarterback. Like, they got a freaking
400 yards.
Well, exactly. That's my point. Is like, it was Minnesota, and the Chargers have been moving the ball consistently all year long through the air. Obviously, Eckler moved the ball fine in week 1. So it's just, Josh Kelley just might not be any good. And so I currently have him ranked 48 because, 47. I currently have him ranked 47 because I did my rankings as if Eckler's going to play. You know, it's looking like that way. But it's worth noting they have a bye in week 5. So could they say, hey, let's take one more week, get Eckler right, especially, you know, in a game in Las Vegas that the Chargers might feel like we could probably win this one without Eckler. So, but even if Eckler is out, I'm still closing it out on Josh Kelley. Nothing I have seen gives me confidence that this guy is going to put up fantasy points.
Now, to be fair to Josh Kelley, against the Vikings defense, DeAndre Swift also did nothing. Oh, wait, he ran for 175 yards. Josh Kelley's not any good. He's just not any good. Every time he's got an opportunity, to your point, he just hasn't done anything with it.
Hey, maybe you might leave it open if Austin Eckler was playing. 'Cause that's when he did something.
Right, exactly. He might vulture a touchdown if Eckler's
Right,
playing.
that's
Exactly.
how that go.
Yeah, so no, but I'm closing it out on Joshua Kelley. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.